So the bike was really fun to make. Before I did the whole creation of the bike and sculpting, I made a detailed sketch of everything that I had to plan. Some of it I forgot to plan, but that will come later in the video. Here it is, I did it in my diary. I didn't put it up on my Instagram, so you just have to take a screenshot or something. Without further ado, let's begin. So on day one I constructed the basic frame of the bike, for which I used a bunch of old frames or sprues I had lying around of model kits I used to build. Now, these were very handy because I could easily cut them down using some wire cutters into really simple sticks and then later fold them into the shape that I wanted or bend them into the shape I wanted. I did this twice on two pieces, and using these I constructed the whole bike. If this simple bit of frame wasn't there, I wouldn't have been able to make this bike, or I would have used something like wires or maybe I guess cardboard. Now to hold them together I used some smaller pieces of sprues and reinforced ivory sheet. This worked out for the long run, and this is when I called the day off. Now day 2 was about sculpting the body of the bike, for which I used Fevical Molded, which comes in two parts. You can mix them and it dries under time. You can watch one of my older videos to see that. So for the body, after I sculpted the lower part, I used a bottle cap as base or support so that I can actually make it hollow on the inside, which kind of decreased the weight on the bike and made it easier to work on later. Now after some heavy detailing and use of molded, this is what I had by the end of the day. And here it is compared to the sketch that I had done. Even though it requires a lot more work, it was really matching up, and this is what gave me hope to move further on. Now on day 3 I focused on making the handlebars and the front part of the bike. For this I used a little bit more of the model kit frame I was talking about before, along with some sticks and some tape to reinforce the thing. I flattened out the front part of the bike body I had made yesterday so that I could actually stick it properly after it had been sculpted and dried completely. After about an hour of work on sculpting, this is what I had. I did refine the top handlebars later with, by cutting the top into two separate handlebars instead of one single stick. This is what I had by the end of day 3. I did not move any further on that day because it was getting quite late. Plus, I was really lazy and I didn't want to do any more work. For the tires, I used some caps which I had of old paints lying around. I cut them into smaller pieces so that it was, more easy to sculpt onto them and they had a better shape. After sculpting some really simple shapes onto them, I moved on to working on the struts, or like these pieces which attach the tires to the body of the bike in the back. For this I used some reinforced ivory sheet, and then onto this I stuck on some toothpicks alongside really basic and minor sculpting. This resulted in a really good and clean finish. After that I moved on to the bike body in a whole. I attached small wires to the side to add a little bit of detail, changed the top handlebars a little bit, making them separate instead of one piece, and then changed the smokestacks in the back. Then attached the aforementioned back parts to the back of the bike in order to actually act as supports for the wheels, like I said. Now I have started working on the wheels of the tires, and it was really fun. It was a good change of pace. They had a more natural flowing shape as compared to the bike, which had more blocky and rounded shapes. Now I added some spikes to the tires, and finally after drying I stuck them both onto the bike, and the sculpting was finally done. And then it was time for the one part of this entire thing I had not planned out at all whatsoever. Now for the painting I used 4 colors: pearl white, black, yellow and orange, alongside 3 really basic brushes. First of all, I used the pearl white and black to create multiple shades of grey and black in order to paint the bike and give it variation in color. Then I used the yellow to paint the tires and a few small minor details. Even though the tires looked like melted cheese in this shot, it actually turned out better than what I had expected once I did shading with the orange to give the fires a more realistic look. Even though fires on a bike's tires is really weird, made it rhyme. Then after painting I used artist's picture varnish to coat it a few times and give it a really smooth finish. And here it was, the finished bike. In the end, this bike build was something different. It was something I hadn't done in a long time. Actually, not make an action figure and make something different. Gathering stuff from around the house and putting it into a bike we just based off of a sketch. I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes life gets tedious, a little bit boring. And the way you get rid of that boredom or that monotonousness is how you make the difference. This is me signing off. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you have made it this far, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, because that's what keeps me alive. Bye bye.